I'd like to mention that programs at Darien Library are made possible by our annual Friends of the Library campaign, so thanks so much for your continued support to make programs like this evening available to the community. I am going to introduce our moderators for this evening, just a little bit about them. Kjelleren oversees the employer recruiting program, the senior program for development of job preparation skills, and career counseling. Prior to joining Middlebury, Don worked in consumer food, advertising, and retail industries. He earned a BA from Dickinson College and an MBA from the Katz School of Management at the university. And then we have Lisa Nelson, who has been with Dunbar since 2004 and works with families of students seeking college admission. So, welcome and thank you.
Thanks, Erin. Thank you to the library for hosting us this evening. At Dunbar, we have the privilege of working with high school students as they navigate the college search and application process with the goal of helping them find good fits for them. So as we work with the students and get to know them over the years, we find ourselves giving advice on lots of different things, from anything from which classes to take in high school to what's a good topic to write my essay about, and what do I do? I've been offered a wait list, a spot on a wait list. How do I handle that? So we felt like, okay, we give advice on a lot of different things. We ought to also give them advice on how to make the most of the college that they've worked so hard to attend. So, excuse me, we've asked these esteemed panelists to join us tonight who are all attending different colleges and pursuing different academic paths, so they could come and share their suggestions and experiences with our college-bound seniors as they get ready to start the next chapter in their journey. So I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves and tell us where they are in college, which year they've just completed, what their major is, and what, if any, post-college plans they have. So, Amanda, do you want to get us started, please?
Sure. Hi, my name is Amanda Clough. I'm a rising junior. I'll be a junior this fall. I attend Connecticut College in New London, and I'm a double major in theater and film studies.
I'm Marty. I go to Williams College. I'm a rising senior. I'm a math major and possibly looking at a career in teaching.
Hi, I'm Bea Crawford, and I'm a rising senior as well at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I'm an art history major, minoring in Spanish, looking into teaching as well, or potentially a career in the marketing industry.
Okay, thank you. Pardon me, I forgot to mention that there are handouts outside with tips on making the most of the experience, the college experience, as well as a great article and a sign-up sheet for anybody who'd be interested in receiving the Dunbar quarterly newsletter. So that's an email newsletter. So if you are interested, please put your name and email address out there. Thank you. Okay, so first question for the panelists. I would say, tell us about your experience in adjusting to college life. What were the biggest challenges and how did you deal with them? Marty, you want to start?
I think it was just very different living away from home. I was somebody who was always around my family a lot, was very apprehensive about leaving them, I think, and kind of just being alone. There's a whole new process when you're in high school and senior year and you finish and you feel like kind of everything's at your fingertips and you have your group of friends and everything's so comfortable, and then you just get right away when school starts thrown into a whole new setting with people from all over the country, all over the world, and somehow you have to navigate kind of meeting new friends and finding yourself socially, but also adjusting to the new challenges academically. And so I think one of the hardest things was to kind of figure out socially how I had to put myself out there, and I think once I started to do that, I did a better job in my classes too, just meeting with professors and being more proactive about getting my work done in the same way you would when you meet new people. I think that that kind of more proactive attitude helps me a lot.
I actually went to Deerfield Academy, which is a boarding school, so I've been living away from home since I was 14 years old. But still, the adjustment to University of Michigan from Deerfield was quite a big one, because I went from school where I was in a grade of like 200 kids to a grade of 6,000. So for me, I immediately sought out ways to kind of find my niche in the community. I joined a sorority, and I also joined, you have to figure out, like, there's initiatives and like towards the sorority. I was in the intramural sports program. There are other aspects of like getting to know my teachers, because I was used to having a close advisor at Deerfield, and at a bigger university you can kind of get lost because they're not looking out for you, you're looking out for yourself. So it's important to be really independent, like motivated, and go to office hours. You know, go next door and talk to the kid who lives next to you in your dorm. Try to create relationships with people, because you don't want to spend your college career just being a number. So that for me was like the big adjustment. Like all of a sudden I wasn't the focus of attention. It was like you know, you have to make yourself an identity. So that was the big adjustment. But I love it, so it's worked out well thus far.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, I think that I thought it'd be much more of a daunting experience transitioning from high school to college. I think that the process was a little bit more smooth than I thought it would be. I attended a boarding school as well, so I think I was used to the rigorous environment I would be in and more of the independent environment. But I have a social personality. So I found that just going out there, being really optimistic and committing yourself 100% to not only like the community, but also activities, school. I think it was definitely what made the transition the smoothest for me, just because I was really able to immerse myself in the environment of the college and get to know people much faster.
Okay, so getting involved was the best way for you to adjust to the new, your new experiences.
Yes.
Okay. So what did you become involved with?
I did a chorus group. I joined the radio club. I'm a radio show the first semester. I joined different theater groups. I went to different events that my professors held. Whenever I would see a flyer that I was interested in, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go to that. So I was open to whatever I saw around me. Even if I didn't exactly know what it was, I'd be like, you know what, I'll probably meet someone there. And I kept my doors open, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Marty, you were an athlete at Williams, right? So how did being on an athletic team, how did that impact your adjustment and getting to know people, that kind of thing?
I think it's nice initially because you meet people on the team kind of right off the bat, but it's easy, I think, for a lot of people to just become insular with that team, so I think you want to branch out. It's nice to have kind of structured time because it makes you, you have to get your work done by a certain time because you know you're going to have practice X number of days a week and games coming up, so I think that was big. I think one of the main adjusting things is the amount of free time you have. You just think about high school, you have your day, which you're in class for way longer than you'll ever be at college, and then you have your extracurriculars, all these things all lined up, and everything is so scheduled and packed. I have younger brothers in high school, and it's just crazy. I was always off to different things, and this day is so busy, and you get to college, and it's so much different. Most of your time, it's up to you what you want to do with it. And usually there's something you should be doing as a project you could do, but I think, and I was a room advisor, so I lived with 20 freshmen this year, and I think the most nerve-wracking thing for everyone was just, what do I do with myself now? And at home, it was I knew I had practice or whatever it was, and I knew I had this community service thing that I needed to do, but I didn't know what the first semester I was in college, I didn't know where to go to get involved with something. And it wasn't really, sophomore year I started teaching at our local elementary school, and I think something that kind of grounded me in the community made me feel a lot more comfortable in Williamstown and having something to do and having more of a schedule like in high school, and that takes you being proactive to find the things you want to do and being open to trying new things. And once you kind of have things that ground you and connect you to your school and to the community around you, it's a lot easier to be happy there. So I kind of went away from athletics, but that was kind of a jumping off point where I had people who were older, juniors and seniors, and I was a freshman say, hey, what did you do? Or what kind of things can I do to get involved with, and what have you been interested in? And I think finding people to give you advice like that, and kind of hopefully what we do to help some of the incoming freshmen here that's the best thing you can do.
Okay. So I have a question that's probably on everyone's mind here. How did you all meet your friends? Okay, so you're starting off brand new, totally different experiences. How did you make your friends? Do you want to start?
Sure. Well, initially I began making friends in my dorm. It's important, just like when you get to your first meal, try and sit with people, branch out. As I said, going through the rushing process of sororities, whether or not you decide to join a sorority or fraternity, it can be a great experience just to go out and look at the different houses so you can meet people who are also interested. And then whether or not you decide to join is totally up to you. My freshman year, I also was writing for the newspaper, so I met a couple of other freshmen that were in the same boat in terms of transitioning. So as I've said, clubs, whether it be like an actual sorority or fraternity or just like working for the newspaper, great ways. I also volunteer at the local preschool in Ann Arbor, so I meet people on the bus taking that bus ride from campus to where the preschool is located. I don't know, it's really important to give yourself a chance and like introduce yourself to people because everyone's in the same boat as you, everyone's nervous, everyone like wants to make friends, you're not the only one who like wants to make their mark in the school or just like have a group to sit with, so don't feel uncomfortable introducing yourself to people. It's really important the first couple of weeks,
So me and Marty both volunteer off campus at schools, right? Marty, is that teaching? So how did you find those jobs, those opportunities?
Yeah, mine was through our math department. They have kind of a bulletin they sent out, and it was just, I ended up reading the emails that they sent out that week or whatever it was, and that ended up making a difference. So if your school, like we have, I think, a daily messages program, which I imagine a lot of schools have stuff like that. And I mean, most days that's just, I mean, a word of junk, whatever it is. But if you take the time to read through it, sometimes you find things that hit gems. I mean, a lot of days you'll see, this is garbage, I'll never do any of this. But a lot of times you find something every once in a while that you could really be interested in. And it really was me just being the first person to respond back to this email saying, yeah, I'd love to fill this position. I've done it for 2 years now, and it's been one of the best things that I've been able to do.
Yeah, it's definitely important to check, like, there'll be billboards in your dormitories, online websites, like, I mean, I get so many, you're gonna be bombarded with emails, like, you won't read half of them, but try to look at if, like, the subject line hits you, because you never know what you're gonna see. Personally, I had a similar experience. I was taking a psychology class, and there was like the second semester was focused on the psychology of children, and so they gave out a pamphlet in the middle of class, and then I spoke to the teacher about the pamphlet, offering student teaching, like volunteer at the preschool. So, I mean, again, going back to it, like talk to your professors, because sometimes they will be associated with an organization outside of school or like also on campus, and they can be really great references to like get you involved in those programs, and that looks great on the resume later on. Also, like just developing that relationship with the teacher will help you like know them better, and they'll get to know you like outside of the classroom, which is difficult to do in college. It's not like high school where they get to kind of see you on a day-to-day basis. You're only seeing them a couple of times a week, and sometimes in Michigan you don't even talk to your professor because you could be in a classroom with 500 other people. So, but back to the original question, like yeah, through classes or just check out like the information that's sent to you, because those kids, a lot of kids are checking that kind of stuff, and you don't know what opportunities might pop up.
Okay, what advice would you give incoming freshmen about time management and study habits?
I would say know the kind of studier you are and take advantage of that. So if you know that you work better at night, then plan it out so that during the day you can take care of all the events you want to go to, see your friends, and at night really buckle down to your work, and vice versa. I think some of the hardest things for college students is to know what kind of studier they are and then actually do it. Sometimes I have friends that know they work better during the day, but see friends all day, and then at night they go to sleep or whatever, so they don't get their work done. And time management is a huge deal, I would say. I mean, you want to see your friends, you want to go out, you want to get good grades at the same time. So really figure out what sort of studier you are, when you work best, and plan accordingly.
I would just say the one thing, it's not going to be perfect, and there's not going to be any ideal way to go about it, and you're not always going to be as on top of everything as you want to be necessarily, and that's okay. You're not always going to, like, it's not high school everything that you see every teacher every day for just about, and so it's okay. I do these 6 problems tonight, and then tomorrow I do these 4, and then I have a day off, and then it's very, very regimented. And when you don't have that, it's very easy to just have the night before the paper be like, oh, well, I guess I gotta start this now, I should probably write this. And I think it's definitely a learning process where right away I was doing things right on the deadline, and I learned kind of not necessarily, okay, I need to space this out. Like, I mean, if you want to do well, the best way is to start it as early as you possibly can. But that won't always happen, and I think what you need to do is acknowledge the times that you're going to be very busy. I think whether that's through athletics or whatever else you're doing, you have a busy work week where you have 3 papers due, and at those points in time, make sure that you heavily prioritize your work, especially because it's not assignment worth 5%, assignment worth 10%. You have big assignments worth 25, 50% of your grades sometimes. And so making sure that during those assignments and those weeks, week and a half, whatever it is, you're giving yourself the amount of time you need to do that.
Well, exactly, I would agree with both of what they said. I have something else to say as well, but since you're not meeting with your teachers every day, it can be really easy to forget, like, oh, I need to do homework for 2 days from now because, like, you're not going to see them, and so that's what kind of catches you. So that's why it's important to, like, utilize your weekends well, figure out what nights you want to go out, plan around that. Not that you should be focusing on going out, but I'm just saying, like, if you want to, because it's really hard to be in that environment where some kids are going to be, like, having different study habits than you are. So if you, like, as she said, like, study at night, like, that's important, or in the mornings, like, manage your time around that. But what I would say is be careful who you take your advice from. Like, take advice from people who are your role models, because all people are gonna, everyone thinks they know what they're talking about, but realistically most people don't. So think carefully who you're listening to, and they tell you when they're doing their work. Also, a big thing, like, for me at a big school, first day one, like, find an advisor who you trust, like, go talk to them and say, like, start thinking, okay, freshman year is your year to explore your interests, because you're not, like, you still can look at, like, which areas you want to focus in. You don't have to, like, I switched my major once, but, like, switching it once is stressful. So meet with an advisor and start figuring out what classes you want to try out. Take as many courses as you can freshman year, because your courses are going to get harder, and you're not going to be wanting to take multiple courses when the course load is heavier. So I'd say, like, in terms of gauging your time, think about, like, even though you're only a freshman, like, look ahead and be like, all right, well, where do I want to be by the time of senior year? Because you don't want to be taking 18 credits your senior year both semesters. So that's, like, in terms of that, like, meeting with an advisor and, like, make sure you trust their judgment, because you know what's best for you. Listen to your parents. I sometimes don't listen to my parents, so you always learn the hard way. They generally are looking out for you. So that's another thing I would say.
Also, I think it's really important to have a great balance. So don't just, stay in the whole time and do work. Don't just go to the library. Also, don't just party all the time. You have to have a balance. And I think a big part of college is finding that balance, is having fun while also doing, studying and being in the classroom. So don't jeopardize one for the other. Really try to find what's best for you and what fits the best. Because that will be how you have the most well-rounded college experience, is if you're able to experience kind of both sides of college life, I would say.
Exactly, and it's not just like college, you'll learn just as much outside of the classroom as you will inside the classroom. Like, I've learned just as much adjusting to, like, this big city environment, with all different kinds of people. I was, like, a real East Coast person, and now I'm in the Midwest. Like, just, like, that's important. Make sure you experience it. You don't want to 4 years go by and realize you never went out, or you never, like, went and, like, for example, go to museums, local, like, restaurants, experience the food, like, the culture in the city you're in, depending on, like, where you guys are all going to school. But these colleges are located in some incredible cities, so I'd suggest you, like, go out and explore, for sure.
Okay, that's great advice from all of you. Thank you. Lastly, have you used your college's writing center or any other academic support center? Either of you? Any?
Does the Career Center count under that or not, especially?
It's like a loaded question. Yes, we could talk about that, but I was just focusing on writing centers because colleges do offer writing centers, and I think for freshmen, it's important for them to get there so that they learn how to write at the level that the college expects.
Yeah, I've worked in both of our writing workshop and our math and science resource center at school. And I think initially, the first probably September or so, you don't see a lot of people. October, a little more trickle in, and finally, November kind of finals come around, and all of a sudden there are people here all over the place. Not saying just even for fun, but people just realizing that there are resources available. I think a lot of people kind of get there, and it's wow, this is hard, but all right, I gotta try to do it. If I don't do it, maybe I'll ask a friend, but oh, maybe I'm nervous to ask them. I don't want them to think that I'm not as good in the subject as they are. So you stay kind of insular, but there are so many people that are there to help you succeed. Nobody wants you to be struggling in any class you're in or anything you're doing. And so finding right away, okay, this is where the writing workshop is, this is how their hours are, and this is how it works, and you'll find the people there, they're there to help you. I mean, I don't want to sit there and be intimidated. Somebody comes in with a paper that they have, I'm like, oh, you got a paper. I'm not trying to intimidate you. You're trying to be welcoming. You want people to use the resources. You want people to do well on their problem sets, and you want them to get good grades on their paper. And so if the resources are there, it's about kind of finding them as soon as you can, and why not take advantage of them? Why not get 100 on a bunch of your problem set instead of getting a couple of 90s, a couple of 80s? Those are such simple steps that help you out in terms of your GPA and how comfortable you feel in the classes. And I mean, I just think it's always helpful to have other people around when you're trying to edit a paper or trying to finish a problem set. So I think that somebody who's worked there, it kind of builds up. I wish people in September would say, wow, we have these resources, let's take full advantage of them.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's difficult to want to go ask for help. I was a pretty independent student in high school, so I didn't really want to be like going to extra help every week when I personally didn't think I needed the extra help. But actually, it's like a great chance to get to know your teachers better, get to know students in your class. Like another way to make friends is in your classes. I don't think we even mentioned that, which like is a big one. So going to those group tutoring sessions, or like, the Michigan has this great suite in the writing center that just helps people learn how to write. Because a lot, you think you know how to write going to college, but like when you get these longer prompts, it's difficult. So that's definitely key. And like, did you say advising as well? But definitely establish a relationship with an advisor, because sometimes that's not as emphasized in college.
I think also something is that your professors want you to go to these centers. They want you to they want you to reach out yourself. They don't want to tell you like, maybe you should go with this paper and bring it there. Like they want you to recognize that on your own and accept it and be able to take the criticism and take the advice from these centers. I know from experience that all professors are different. One professor may love you writing, the next professor may say, this isn't my style, I want you to go and get some help. And I would take that and really accept it and run with it. Don't be ashamed that one professor doesn't like your writing. Not everyone is going to love what you're doing, and it's okay. That's part of college, it's part of learning. So being open to the help and being open to the many different, sides of people coming at you is a great, I think, thing you learn in college.
I think to add on, just in terms of the classmates, if you're looking at your concept as number 6 seems impossible, it probably seems impossible, if not really, really hard to most of the people around you. And people aren't going to be, I think freshman year a lot of times, a lot of students get kind of shut off and they're feeling a little insecure. They don't know how they're doing relative to everybody else, but just study groups with people in your class alone, and not just your resource center, is a good way to make friends, and it's a good way to find out. You can meet really nice people in your classes that you all are trying to do well, so why not help each other, why not be friendly and not just come in, sit, put your head down, take your notes, and walk out of the room. It's a lot of times it's just as simple as, hey, do you want to go over that, somebody you just don't, do you want to go over that later, or maybe here, can we talk about that problem at lunch, whatever it is. There are people that are there to learn just like you are. Students that are in discussions like this, that are going to the same school, that are all interested, taking the same classes. So you do have some things in common. There's always something to talk about there. So I think that's a really good way to meet people, make friends. And I think just kind of in the making friends vein before we transition, having your cell phone out all the time is just debilitating as a freshman.
Yeah, oh my God, don't do that. Don't be that kid.
It's not even that kid. It's just a lot of people, I had, it's also a terrible idea, a girlfriend at a different school who was far away.
That is a bad idea.
But just if you're always on the phone with people from high school or whatever it is, you're missing out on the things going on around you. If you're always attached to your phone, and it's very easy to do because it's definitely awkward at first. I had to facilitate for the 20 freshmen living in my dorm the kind of intro to the first week. It was just me and my co and the 20 of them, and it's tough. It's like, oh, do you like movies? Yeah. Do you like food? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's tough, but if you can just have conversations instead of being on your phone for a lot of it, and force yourself to get past that just initial awkwardness that everybody's experiencing, you're gonna have a better time, you're gonna meet more people, and you're gonna be somebody who comes back after the winter break, seeing your friends, whatever it is, who feels confident about being where you are and feels good about kind of the social group and the people you're with.
Yeah, and
No.
well, like one last thing about in terms of studying with your friends, that can also help you manage your time. Because for me at least, like when you have a big exam, it's really nice to have someone who's like, okay, well, this time let's meet up and let's go over these problems. It just makes it less overwhelming. You feel like you're less alone. Living in a sorority my sophomore year, I was living with 50 girls in one house. And I mean, one might say that's a nightmare, which it was at times, but like, on the other hand, we like at a certain hour, we'd all be in the kitchen together at all these tables doing our work, some of us in the same classes, and my grades ended up being the highest they were that semester. And this, if you're an independent learner, it's different, but still just to be around other people who are doing work can motivate you. So choose your friends wisely, for sure.
I think we're going to move on and let Dawn start tackling the transition to sort of the academic road and then what comes after. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Dawn Kjelleren. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Lisa. So I'm going to step a little bit closer just because you guys are all so far back there. First of all, it's a terrific treat to be here tonight. I'm the Director of Career Services at Middlebury College, so I tend to work more when students have arrived on campus. I think for those of you who like learning objectives, you can view tonight as 3 different buckets. So we have transitioning from high school to college. We have navigating college once you get there. And we have college to career. We've already started really going down those 2 first learning objectives really nicely, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the 3rd one in just a moment. First of all, though, how many high school seniors do you have? Just throw up an arm there. Okay, great. How about juniors? Some juniors? Great. So your seniors are probably already through the college selection process, and you are going to get some really good sort of boots on the ground tips and tactics about how to navigate that first year, and that's great. Your juniors and even younger students are going to be thinking about this whole college process, and some of this may seem overwhelming. I really congratulate you on coming out here tonight. Stuff takes some time to figure out. What tonight's panel is going to do is going to save you some missteps, some zigzags. It's really going to help you focus on some of the key areas. So we think about once you get to college, there's some basic milestones you're going to have to figure out, right? What do you want to major in? What does that mean? Hopefully some of you picked up the article in the back, and that's some really important information there, and I hope folks ask some questions afterwards, which is what we're going to go to shortly. Secondly, are you going to study abroad? Are you going to do internships? How are you going to balance your academic and co-curricular interests? So these are some of the areas we'd like to tease out, and I'd like to then to push that into, so what does that actually mean in terms of life after graduation? So I'm going to jump in right at that point right now. Panelists. So you guys have already shared some amazing experiences. You go to like incredible schools, right? You've really risen to the top. What does this mean now in terms of your future life as you guys start to think about life after graduation? And at what point during your 4 years did that even start to creep into this thinking about the value of college, the relevance of college, and again, what you're going to do after college?
I think it's you start hearing about it right away. You'll come back after freshman year, I think, and you'll have taken classes. You won't have declared a major yet for sure. Maybe be thinking about it, but people. So what are you thinking about doing? What do you want to do? What do you? And I was one of those people who that's years ago. How could I possibly know what I want to do? And I worked at a summer camp that summer after my freshman year and my sophomore year. That's something I'd done for forever and loved, but I had no idea, but it was something that other people were definitely thinking about, and they were making progress towards and getting internships and taking the steps to get there. And I think this year, junior, is when it was in full effect, where everybody kind of was in the end of the fall, and in January was very, very concerned about getting a job and utilizing the career service. I don't know if that's started off.
That's a good starting point. Others?
Yeah, I honestly was not really thinking in terms of where I wanted to be until the middle of my sophomore year. Freshman year, kind of just excited to be in college. Like, I was trying to figure out what classes I liked taking. It's pretty easy to figure out what classes I didn't like taking. So that was sort of like an indication of like, what did I want to major in? And I think it's important to like make sure you're enjoying the class you're taking. Don't let like your career path like define what classes you take. I mean, everyone's gonna have their own opinion. I personally think like you're paying a lot of money or you're like lucky to have this experience at a school, like enjoy those classes you're sitting in. Don't just like let the time, go by for the numbers and the grades. So for me, it was like initially the focus was figuring out like, okay, I'm a real like humanities person. I like languages, I like the arts, so I'm going to pursue an art history major. I even actually dabbled in like a design semester where I was focusing on like actual art, and then I realized it was too vocational, so I switched into more of like an academic setting where I was taking classes, but then I still had this art history major which would touch on the art, so I didn't let go of it completely. But in terms of like the future, then when I became a junior, as he said, you have your friends who are looking to get internships, because a lot of the time you can get an internship and then they'll say, we'd love for you to come work. I mean, that's not a lot of time, but it's great if it happens. That they'd like you to come work when you do graduate. So that's really important. But what I'd say is like make sure your interests line up. Like when you, like for example, as I said, like I started enjoying these art history classes and I start talking to those professors, like what did you do? What were your interests? Finding out what they had to say about like career plans, and be aware like in your dormitories or wherever you're living, like online bulletins, emails, because you'll immediately start getting notifications about potential internships like on campus. Like get involved in those volunteer opportunities. Like they can offer you off-campus summer programs. So for me, I became aware of this Career Center website at the University of Michigan where they allow you to create a profile for yourself where you upload your resume, you say which like geographical locations you're interested in, what are like your fields of interest. I was joking with them earlier, like you could say like you really like animals, like animal watching, or like like, oh, I'm interested in finance, arts, music. They give you every potential option, and so you kind of like place out your interests, set up a profile for yourself, and then Michigan sends me an email anytime a job or an internship pops up and they have thousands and thousands of jobs that kind of line up with my interests. Or you can just search through the options and see if any of these jobs are potentially interesting to you. And I literally applied to like 26 internships, I think, this winter, just by saying like submit resume, answer the questions. Like it's important to do that because there's people applying for like more internships than I did. So just be aware of like those resources because they can be really helpful.
I think it's really important to remember that it's a privilege to attend the colleges that you're attending. So don't let so much time go by that you don't really think about this amazing experience that you're having. So remember that it's 4 years go by really fast, but it'll be like the end of sophomore year before you know it, and you'll be trying to declare a major. And if you haven't even thought about it, it's going to be the most daunting process ever. So make sure that you are constantly at least aware of aware of your interests, aware that, I'm 3 months into college, have I done, what my goals are, have I gotten involved? Be aware of the timeline, of the ticking clock, because it does go by really fast. I know you guys are seniors now, it's probably flown by for you. So make sure that you at least know what your interests are. Get involved with all different, array of things that maybe fit your interests, that maybe don't. But I think the more you're involved with, you'll really hone in on what you want to major in, what you want your career path to be.
Yeah, well, be conscious of like your credits, because at least I didn't recognize you need a certain number of credits to graduate, but then also I needed a certain number of those credits to be towards my major, towards my minor. So if you all of a sudden decide to minor in something, like look into summer, for example, I did 2 summer semesters in Michigan, not summer, spring semesters, which Michigan has a strange schedule. We're lucky we have a 4-month summer, we get out in April. So I would stay at Michigan and take a class April and May to get ahead in credits and make my workload in the winter less stressful. So look into that kind of thing, because sometimes you don't realize, depending on what you're minoring or majoring in, you might have enough credits overall, but a lot of my friends right now who went abroad or whatnot are scrambling to make sure they have like their minor credits intact. So that's why it's important to like meet with your advisors and look into that stuff. And like the summer semesters are great. Great chance to meet people, smaller class sizes. Sometimes it's even easier because there's less people to compete with, so it can help your GPA. Yeah, that's important.
Also, just don't get caught up in the fun of college. It's great to have those amazing times, but I would say by the time you're a senior, you'll realize, oh my God, I haven't even had an internship yet. I haven't made contacts. I haven't gotten to know the people that I should. I'm gonna be, out in the real world in the 9 months, and oh my God, I have nothing. So being on top of your, your credits, as you said, being on top of the contacts you have, the jobs you've had, is really, really important when you go out into the real world. That way, you have a basis, I would say, a framework to deal with.
Go ahead, Marty.
That's, just real quick, a lot of big picture stuff. I know I was sitting there and I haven't even had my high school graduation yet, but how could I know all of that yet? But I think, so one thing definitely to be, so freshman year was just pick 4 classes what I had to do, and so I just picked 4 things I liked and didn't give a second thought about any major requirement, whatever it was, and that's fine. I think a lot of people go in knowing what potential majors they might like, but don't think that you need to be any particular major for any type of job usually. If you show the interest and do well in whatever field you're studying, you'll be a strong candidate for anything you want to do. But I do definitely think the advice is good to just understand what your school's distribution requirements are and the general requirements are. And then later on, you can figure out the number of credits that works out of your major credits. But right off the bat, find some things you like and just see how that goes, and then the path will kind of dictate itself there more like.
And you can pretty much figure out anything. Like, don't feel like, oh God, I didn't take XYZ credits. Like, I'm not going to graduate in time. Like, you're not the only one. There's always a solution. You're going to find out, oh, for like an art history major, turns out I can't take every art history class in Europe. I have to take an African art class. Like, you'll find things out, and you know what? You're going to figure it out. It's like, that's why they have those advisors and these, like, the professors are there to help you. Like, they want you to graduate on time. It's not like they're like, haha, let's see if you make it. Like, they want you to get through it. So, I mean, just don't, as you said, like, freshman year is a chance to explore,
So I just got to say, I'm absolutely blown away by how articulate and how reflective these students are just a couple years into their academic programs. I've gotten one question thus far, right? It's really impressive how much you guys offer on these topics. You haven't even graduated yet. None of you even have jobs yet. None of you have probably even applied to graduate schools. So you're just very much right in the middle of this. So another point I wanted to pull out is we have 3 liberal arts students here, right? Liberal arts is less than 3% of the academic higher ed picture. 97% of undergraduates in this country are going to pre-professional programs. The reason I want to make this point is that liberal arts students have a little bit more work to do in terms of figuring out the translation issue. What do I want to do with this humanities major? Because it's not linear. This isn't accounting, engineering, nursing. This is very broad learning. Again, hopefully some of you had the opportunity to pick up the article. Major does not necessarily equal career. Probably the science is a little bit of an exception to that, although I must say I have a lot of science students who don't want to spend all their time in the lab or go to med school. So that's the next question I have for you guys is, how do you take all these liberal arts transferable skills that you guys have learned, obviously communications being one of them, and really apply that to thinking about what can I do with this amazing education that I've had? So you guys are right in the middle of living this right now. How are you going to figure out what's next for you?
Well, I'll just touch on initially just being a liberal arts student and not having a career path defined for you based on your major. And I think that kind of just in learning how to think and how to be articulate and how to just convey who you are and share yourself as a candidate for any job, yeah, there might be a little more training time or more startup, more just kind of energy you need to get trained to be prepared for something. But once you have that training, I'd like to think that I'd be as qualified as somebody who was trained to do that if the skills that I think I have reflect or need for this job.
Or even work, right? Because you guys offer these other transferable skills.
Yeah, I think what's great about going to a college that has gen eds is that you're able to really take little aspects of each class you do. Like my freshman year, I took a religion class for gen ed, I took a theater class, and I took an English class. And something I learned from my theater class was I learned to do public speaking, I improved my communication skills. With my religion class, I learned to research and how to really improve my researching skills. And with English, I really improved my writing skills. So I was able to take little aspects of each class, and even though they have nothing to do with each other, you're really able to kind of build a portfolio for yourself. So I think that's something very important to take from these gen eds is, and I think it opens doors for everyone too. I mean, I went to college thinking that I'd be an English and music double major, and my freshman fall term I took a theater and film studies class, and I completely changed the course of my college career. So I mean, gen eds are super important. Be open to them, and even if you're like, you know what, I'm not super interested in that subject, really think about what you learned from that class and what skill you picked up.
Yeah, the interesting thing about going to university when you're for your juniors who are considering like where you want to go to school is at Michigan there's the business school, the Ross School of Business, then there's Literature Arts and Science College. They have a, you know, like basically it's not just the one big college, there's individual colleges within the university. So for me, I'm in the Literature Arts and Science College of the University of Michigan because I didn't know, I wasn't sure where I wanted to end up. So that does require like more motivation on my part in terms of like figuring out career-wise what I want to do. For me, my job that I'm working at this summer, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Horizons Enrichment Program. It's at Greens Farms Academy, Buchanan Country Day School. I found out about it my freshman year summer, and I've been working there. I started off teaching 7th grade girls, now I'm teaching 7th and 8th grade, and I'm the athletic director for pre-K through 5th. So for me, it wasn't so much, okay, I'm not going to be working there when I graduate, but I actually have developed connections with teachers who have worked there, who have given me connections to places, like for example, my dream job is to work at ESPN in the marketing department. So recently my boss at my teaching job saw that at the bottom of my resume, there was an art portfolio, and she's just best friends with the creative director at ESPN, and offered to email my resume over to this woman, Carol Boyle at ESPN. Now, obviously this is a lucky situation, but it just goes to show you where like if you do whatever you're doing, if you work your hardest, you create relationships with people, get a recommendation, get someone who's gonna like stick their neck out for you. Because chances are with a liberal arts education, you can write well, you can speak well, you can interact with people, and that's like half the battle in terms of finding jobs. So use that to your advantage, like that's what you're focusing on in college, like in developing that liberal arts. And so I have this awesome teaching job. I'm getting paid, it's my 3rd year doing it, like there's consistency in my resume. I'm getting paid 3 times the salary I was my freshman year. I'm developing connections with people who like know bigger people. And I think that is just like such a huge part in terms of finding jobs if you're not. Whereas like I have a best friend in the Ross School of Business where every day they have some guy coming in from like different hedge funds around the country, speaking to them, trying to hire them. Like she applied like 50 something jobs, like internships through like Career Center thing. Like they've got this lined up. So for me, it was up to me to seek out programs where you can like make those connections.
Something that I didn't think about going into college, and something that I definitely learned, was just as much as teachers are important for connection purposes, so are classmates. Even if you're not, in a class that's for your major, get to know the people in the class. You never know what partnerships you'll cook up in the future, what connections, who knows what will spawn out of just meeting somebody in a gen ed class. I've had friends that just graduated that are totally different majors, but we're friends from various classes and are starting businesses together, and they're combining their skills. So be open to those friendships and those kind of collaborations.
Oh, and one other thing that I totally forgot about that's very important is start your resume as soon as you can. Like, I did not have a resume my freshman year, and all of a sudden you were looking at certain jobs, even jobs just to like, if you want to work at a restaurant or like, you don't even know, like, they'll say, oh, can I see your resume? And you're thinking, oh, yeah, I'll send that to you tomorrow. Like, I'm gonna go make this right now. Like, that happens. So just like immediately, if you do something, like, just start jotting it down, look at different formats. Like, your school will have definitely like resume help sessions, like Michigan has tons of those, or they'll give you like layouts where you can meet with your advisor and they'll show you like, because there's definitely certain resumes that read better or more appealing, and like it doesn't seem like it's that important, but when you get 30 seconds of someone's time and they get one piece of paper on you, like you want it to read well and stick out to them, because that's like your one shot. So start your resume like as soon as you can, freshman year, like lay it out. Even if you have I had 0 work experience, still to this day I have my one job that I've been doing, but like you just want to have that done because people are going to want to see it. So yeah, keep that accessible.
I think, there's definitely times when people are asking, well, what do you want to do going forward? What was your job? What would you like to do? And I had no idea what just the possibilities were or what I wanted at all. And to some extent, I still feel like that. So sometimes I would have loved to be like, well, I'm pre-med, and so that's the end of that. That's the track I'm on. But having a liberal arts education, a lot of times, I'd like to think that knowing how to think and knowing how to synthesize and analyze different information will open up enough doors, there'll be enough possibilities for me where that will make me competitive for a wider range of jobs that I could seek out.
So I'm a high school senior about to become a first-year student at my college of choice. Why the heck would I be thinking about this career stuff yet? That's like so far. I'm just trying to figure out what the dining hall is, wow, I can do my banking, the ATM, who my roommate is. This is really like abstract stuff. Here's the inside scoop. You heard a moment ago from B, you need a college resume. So you've got a high school resume right now. This is a great in to go meet somebody over at that center, okay? Now at college, you want to be gathering a team of advisors. You've got your academic advisor, you may have a coach, you may have a mentor. You want also someone in the career services office. You go over, say, hey, here's my high school, they all drop in hours, you don't need an appointment. Say, here's my high school resume, I really want to get this up to speed for college. By the way, do you guys have any type of funding for summer internships? I'd really love to do this unpaid summer internship thing next year. Guess what? Most of these schools now have funding for summer internships for first-year students who ask. Okay? So again, you want to build friends who can help you. You want to build a network. You want to build advisors because they're going to help, again, eliminate these mistakes and zigzags just by giving you real-time information when you need it. No need to get stressed about the big job thing at the end of the day or making your LSAT score shine day one. You just need to focus on some very basic things. Here's a college resume now. Who might I send that to for an upcoming? You might have a winter term break. You might have summer term opportunity. So I encourage you to get in and meet those folks. So we're going to go to questions in just a moment. I got one more question for our panel, and that is, what is the best bit of career advice anyone has ever given to you if you're willing to share with us?
I would say working with my career counseling office has been the best part of college so far for me, and probably the most helpful. They've taught me everything from common sense things like keep your resume under one page so that your potential boss doesn't get bored, to network, build connections with people. Saying hi goes a long way, not just for meeting people at your school, but for meeting people in the real world. Saying hello opens up doors. It's a word that's so simple, but some kids just don't use that often, and it really closes them off from meeting people. Just get out there and meet as many people as you can. Be optimistic, and be proactive, I would say. If you want something, there's definitely doors that are open. If you don't know about the open doors, seek them out. There are opportunities that college offers that I didn't even know that was possible. I have an internship right now that I didn't even know existed, but until I sought it out. So it's definitely something that college has. The funding that you don't know about. So just be optimistic, seek things out, be proactive.
Some of the best advice that I wish that I would have received or listened to at least is just showing up in your career center, your freshman year, whatever it is. I didn't go to mine. I don't know if I was intimidated. I didn't really know how it would work, what the deal was. But I got there, I signed a thing, and in 15 minutes, somebody had just taken my resume and just made it presentable, and so I could send it to whomever. And that, it's just so simple and so easy. So what I told my freshmen was, when they had a big open night, you don't need to go with an agenda, you don't need to know what you're doing, but just go and familiarize yourself with the place. So when you do need it, like I did junior year when I was applying for an internship, I would have loved to just have known what it was, for there to be a familiar face there. So just show up, just kind of like the resource center. The earlier you go, the more comfortable you are using it, and there are, just resources at your disposal that I think not enough students take advantage of, I would say. Probably the case I know, it's definitely the case at Williams. And just the best advice, I think, in terms of the career is always to do something you love and do what makes you happy. And that sounds cheesy, but for me, it was I loved being a camp counselor, so I did that. When people were getting very serious internships and working in the city, wherever it was, I loved doing that, and that's kind of turned into a resume with other experiences that I've had that looked good for teaching, but it was just because I did what I liked and what I was passionate about, and it'll turn into something, and you can decide where you want to go with that. But so I would say just try to be happy. Other people that'll tell you to sell your soul and work for Morgan Stanley or whatever.
Hey! I'm trying to hire that guy for years.
No, but do something you like.
Yeah, I mean, I think as they say, giving you a really good piece of advice, as they say, like, be wise in terms of who you listen to. I was gonna say showing up is really important. The other thing is, like, someone told me you don't just get by in town alone. Like, you are actually responsible for your own destiny. So for me, make sure, like, if you don't do something tomorrow that you can do today, like, get that out of the way. Because sometimes it's so easy to say, like, oh, I'll start doing that next week. Like, when you have an idea in your head, like, get that going. Sometimes, you know, college gets tough, like you get down on yourself about exams, like it's an adjustment. All of a sudden, at least for me going to Michigan, like you think you're at the top of your class and all of a sudden, oh, everyone else is at the top of their class and you're nobody. Like, so for me, like sometimes when you're down on yourself, do things for other people, help your friends out. That's a good way of like helping yourself feel better. I'm trying to think of like anything else that like, but really just like be like recognize that you are responsible for what happens to you. So like all because you're a talented kid doesn't mean you're just gonna get into college and cruise. Like it's not who you are at the start, it's who you are at the finish. So work like someone who's working just as someone who's not as good at something as you but working harder, like they're the people that are gonna get further. So I mean I definitely kind of thought freshman year I was gonna like didn't want to ask for help, didn't want to meet with my teachers. Got into the sorority one and kind of thought I was like on top of the world, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, everyone else has internships. Like I gotta get on, you know. So like be proactive. Like do things the day you think of them. Don't let like the time pass you by, I guess.
Well, I remember when I was a senior and everyone was telling me, when you go to college, it's going to be all on your own. Like it's going to be very independent. Get ready for it. And you kind of blow off saying like, oh no, my parents will still be there. Like it's not going to be that different. It's different. Like your parents are always going to be there for you, but it's really the first time in your life that you're completely self-dependent, and it's something that's a privilege, and it's something to really learn from. And I mean, your teachers aren't going to be there holding your hand. Your parents aren't going to be there holding your hand. So recognize that, and I mean, do something about it. Show up, ask questions is a huge thing.
And it's really easy also to get there and not pursue your interest, because if you don't make the sports team, you're like, oh, well, I'm not gonna, like, I played 3 sports in high school and I got to college, I wasn't playing any sports. And try and find those intramural programs, like there's a way to continue doing your interest, because as he said, being happy is one of the most important things. So what's gonna make you happy is doing the things you're good at, doing the things that you like. So if you like singing, even if you don't make like the top-notch group, like go try. There's other clubs that you can get involved in. Like definitely keep doing your interests, because I have so many friends that are like, oh, I used to do that, And obviously you're not going to be doing everything once you get to college, but like you don't want to let the time pass you by and be like, oh, I don't do anything that I used to be good at anymore. Like, because those are other ways you're going to meet people who might hire you later on. You never know. So.
Well, there's so much good advice that you guys are living right now. This is amazing. And there's so many interesting threads that I was thinking about myself. So I've been in this business for quite a while, and some of the quotes were fantastic. By the way, Marty, Morgan Stanley won't take you as a first-year student, so these guys are safe for a little while. I did want to have a quick shout out to Dunbar Educational Consultants, because they do the job of getting students to the schools that are good matches for them. It makes my job so much easier, and hosting panels, for example, like this, really give you guys the inside scoop on what it's like to be a college student in 2013. So I'd love to open up for questions. I'm hoping that some of the seniors and juniors here might ask the first question. Again, even though you guys aren't sitting in the front seats, I'm not going to give you, like A+ day 1. If you ask the question, you can think up for that right now. So who here, and no dumb questions, anything you want to know, like ask about the food in college, ask anything you want. Okay, so please, is there a student in the room who'd like to, brave enough, throw up that hand, ask a question here?
Parents break the ice or something.
Would you guys have asked a question if you were here?
Not a million.
No, I'm so scared to. Oh, look at him.
Yeah.
Go
All
ahead.
right. Are you a senior or junior?
Yeah, I'm a senior.
And where are you going next year?
Washington, St. Louis.
Fantastic. Okay. Please, start us off.
So I just wondering about pre-professional programs,
Yeah.
and if you're planning to apply to graduate school, or
Yes.
you're thinking about it, what type of advice do you have? Is there like certain classes you should take, certain things you should do? How do you prepare?
So that's a great question. So a lot of the pre-professional advising is through your faculty advisor. That's where you're going to start. That's going to be your base. Faculty know that path best. They don't know a lot about the job stuff because they themselves went through an academic path, but they have their preferred within the department. So you're going to start off with a general advisor, and then you're going to go to a more specific department advisor as you declare a major. Has anyone had any sort of grad school conversations at this point, or gotten any advising on that?
Well, freshman year, I used to tell people I was pre-law when I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't want to say that I didn't know that.
That's not popular.
Then my dad told me there was no pre-law in Michigan, so oops. Yeah, but I have like, you want to look into like different programs that will help you start studying for, if you're pre-med, the MCAT, the LSAT, and as I said, like the college advising that they do, those are the people you want to talk to. They know when these exams are being taken, when you should start studying for them. The requirements online are really easy to find.